Is there an ideal size for an online education business in terms of revenue and profit? Well, I think there is, because after seeing hundreds of different online education businesses, working with many of them directly, there's a real pattern between those businesses that just don't just make money, but allow for a really quality lifestyle for the founders. And I think that fits into a very specific revenue profit bracket. And I'm going to break that down for you in this video. In case you don't know me, my name is Olly Richards. I'm the founder of StoryLearning.com. It's a multi-million-dollar online education business. I'm also a mentor and advisor to other online education entrepreneurs. So I'm going to break these businesses down into 3 different brackets: 0 to 1 million, 1 to 3 million, and 3 million to 10 million. And this is annual revenue terms. So what happens with 0 to 1 million businesses is a little bit like this. So typically when you first start, you start making money like this, and it's all profit. So if you stay at around, 200,000-300,000 in annual revenue, then it's mostly profit. Your expenses, you don't have many because it's just you sending your time for the most part, or making YouTube videos, selling courses, keeping all the money, whatever. But then what happens is, as you want to grow the business, you end up working harder. So your revenue grows. You also work a lot harder, but then you also build team. And so whereas you don't have many costs to begin with, quite quickly what happens is that you see these 1 million revenue businesses that actually spend a lot of money, and the only profit left over is a little sliver up here, and they're running maybe 20-30% profit margins. So in this scenario, you're making $1 million in top line revenue, you're keeping 30% of that, so 300,000. You take out your lifestyle costs, and you're left at the end of the year maybe with 50 or 100,000 in like retained cash for the business, which is not a great deal relative to the amount of revenue that you are earning. And this is a particular kind of pinch point, because if you assume that a regular family might take, say, 200,000 a year between them for everything, for some savings, lifestyle, whatever, which is kind of pretty typical for a middle-aged entrepreneur, then, and you assume that you're running 30% margins with the business, then on $1 million in turnover, it really doesn't leave you that much left over. Now, the 1 to 3 million revenue range, slightly magical, starts happening, which is as follows. So you've grown revenue of the business, you've passed the million point, and now you're at maybe, say, 2 million, 3 million in annual revenue. But your costs, your expenses, your overhead generally doesn't rise proportionally. So what you'll often see is, so you have very few expenses at the beginning, and then you have a lot of expenses as you're growing the business to 7 figures, you're building team, you're making mistakes, your business is not that mature. But then once the business hits its stride, this might be, say, 5, 6, 7 years in, you've hit your stride, you've reached maturity in the business. What happens is then you can scale the stuff that works, but your costs don't rise proportionately. So your team might stay the same or only rise slightly. And what you do is you create this big, beautiful profit wedge right here. And so in this scenario, you might be making 3 million in revenue. Let's say you still have 30% margins. That means you are profiting $1 million. You take out 200,000, say, for lifestyle expenses, family, which means you've got 800,000 left at the end of the year. And what this does is create a huge amount of freedom, both mindset-wise, but also in the business. It means you can start to invest in things. It means you can start to hire expensive consultants to improve things, or just put money in the bank and create this mindset of abundance in your own life. This kind of breakdown I see very typically around between the sort of 2 to 3 million revenue range, that kind of thing. You don't get to this level of efficiency before that, and as we're about to see, you don't get to keep this level of efficiency after that. It's a really beautiful spot for online businesses where you can just leverage the distribution that you get, the distribution and reach that you get on the internet, without having too much overhead. By the way, if you're finding this stuff useful, you might like to download my case study, Anatomy of a $10 million online education business. It basically breaks down how my business Story Learning works from top to bottom, from marketing to team to mindset, lifestyle, all of this kind of stuff. It's completely free. Just go to ollyrichards.co or click the link in the description to check it out. Now, business owners who get to this 1 to 3 million revenue range typically face a bit of a dilemma. They find themselves in quite a good situation. The business has matured. They're very comfortable on a personal level. And life is good. But then, being the entrepreneurs that we are, we tend to want to go to the next level. And we think, okay, well, if I've got to 3, why can't I get to 10? And you start to meet new people who start to push you into scaling and 10xing, bro, and all of this stuff. And you start to look around and you realize that there are billionaires on the planet and you are not one of them. And so there's a crossroads for many online business owners where you have to decide for yourself, look, am I happy staying here and living an absolutely blessed life where I don't have to work that much, my team does most of the work, and I get to keep a lot of money? Or am I going to push through from 3 to try to get to 10 million? And many people do this. So this is the pathway from 3 to 10. Let's say that you get there and it's a straight line, which never happens ever. But let's say that you achieve that. Here is what your cost base looks like. So as we know, at the beginning, you don't have many expenses. Then at the 7-figure mark, your profit's quite tight. Then from 2 to 3 million, you get that beautiful profit wedge. Now, when you make the decision to scale from 3 to 10, you have to do business in a completely different way, because what got you here will not get you there. You have to start investing heavily into growing your marketing channels, figuring out customer acquisition at scale. You need to build team. You need to invest into data. And so what happens is your expenses go through the roof as you're trying to figure things out, often way in excess of your revenue. And then what you're trying to do is get to a point where you figure things out, your expenses stop, and then ideally you have this massive great wedge here at the top. But even then, you would kind of expect on, say, 10 million in revenue to have, say, 2 million in profit, which isn't all that different from our earlier version of the business right here. What changes, though, is because you're at this level of scale, your company now becomes very valuable, because private equity tends to look at businesses at a bigger scale. Because if you can do this profit at this level of revenue, your business is typically quite stable, because you've figured out customer acquisition and your business model at a large scale, right? Which means that it can't just be taken away from you like it can if you're just like a guy with a YouTube channel. So that's the rationale. This business here could be potentially worth 30, 40, 50 million if you sell it. Whereas the business at this stage isn't actually worth anything. It's just a very nice cash flowing lifestyle business. Based on this, it would make sense for you to try to push through to 10 million, right? Because then not only do you have some nice profit, but your business now becomes sellable. The problem is that virtually nobody makes it this far. Virtually nobody. Statistically, I don't know what the stats are, but it's something like 0.3% of businesses or something like that would ever get to this range. In fact, it's only a big minority of businesses will ever pass the 7-figure mark. I think it's something like 3% or something like that. Of the businesses that get to the 7-figure mark, virtually nobody gets to 7 figures in profit. That's also very, very rare. Of those, the ones that actually go through to get to 10 million in revenue is it's vanishingly small. And so you have to, at this point, ask yourself the question, is all of this pain here really worth it? Bearing in mind, you're probably going to go through 2, 3, 4, 5 years of utter hell to try and scale the business, risking bankruptcy and failure in the meantime. You're going to go through all of that, and statistically, you're probably not going to succeed. For most people, most of the time, this is a calculation and a trade-off that's just really not worth it if you are someone that kind of values things in life other than just, success at all costs. But even in a best case scenario, even if you succeed at scaling to 10 million, what you can say for sure is that you will go through 3 to 5 years of very, very difficult work. And if you meet people who are in that scaling phase, then you tend to look at the way they work, and it's not something that most people want for themselves, given everything that tends to happen at these different revenue ranges. For me, this business right here that's doing 1 to 3 million in revenue and 1 to 2 million in annual profit is absolutely the ideal kind of business to aim for. And this is worth knowing if you are at this stage yourself right now and fighting this temptation to actually grow and scale your business. Because if you look at the experience of other people who go through this and try to do this, that can be very instructive for you to make a decision that feels right for you and about what you want for your business, but also for your life. And if you found this interesting, then you might like this video over here, where we talk about the psychology of getting to 7 figures in revenue and asking, what's next? What do I actually want? Should I try to scale? If not, then what do I do with revenue and profit and all of that? Go and check out the video.